We had a great partnership where we did a type of sampling campaign where basically you could add one of our new products, Light Strike, a single bottle of that at checkout for, I think it was 25 cents. And so it was basically a sampling campaign. We were able to get a ton of information data back, including survey, post events. Our repeat buy rate from that was crazy. It was way above
Really?
benchmark. We were able to start running sponsored product ads at the same time. Or shortly kind of towards the end of that sampling period. So we were able to then get in front of people again who had done the initial sampling. We both had a huge repeat rate of people resampling and trying the other flavors and purchasing the other flavor, but also just repeat buys of the 4-pack, which was the only way we were actually selling it outside of the sampling campaigns.
Welcome back
to another episode of the Innovate On Purpose podcast. Hosted by Matt Muller,
best-selling author of The Mindful Innovator and Rethink Retail's top retail expert.
We help retail leaders find clarity so they can grow their businesses purposefully.
We will uncover mindful tips, innovative solutions, and purposeful leadership advice and strategies that you can apply immediately to your retail innovation.
Are you ready to innovate on purpose?
Hey, before we jump into the episode today, I just wanted to say thank you for hitting the play button. You being here fires me up, and I cannot wait to share with you the insights that are going to make a difference in your business. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and leave a review so I can reach as many retail leaders as possible. They too need to hear this. Okay, let's do it. All right. Hello and welcome to Innovate On Purpose. Today's episode, I am sitting down with Abby Czarniecki.
Oh, it's a tough one. Czarniecki.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to start over.
I should keep that.
Actually ahead of time.
I've heard worse, trust me.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I always get it with my name. Mine is M-U-E, so a lot of people say Mueller, but it's Muller. Yeah, and I was just like, all right, forget it, whatever. I'm just going to go with it. I don't even correct people anymore. All right, well, I'll start over. All right, and welcome to another episode of Innovate On Purpose. Today, I am sitting down with Abby Czarniecki of New Belgium Brewing, and we're going to talk about how one of the most iconic craft beer brands is navigating today's rapidly evolving retail and digital landscape. From managing e-commerce growth in a highly regulated category to aligning sales, marketing, and digital teams. Abby has been on the front lines of building strategy that not only drives results, but also connects with consumers in fresh and creative ways. We'll also dig into how New Belgium is experimenting with partnerships, AI, and new digital tools to keep up with the fast-changing world, all while keeping their culture and customer focus at the center. Abby, welcome to the show today.
Thank you so much, Matt. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to continuing the conversation. We had a chance to meet at Digital Food and Beverage earlier this year at West Palm Beach. I had a call like a couple weeks ago, and just I really love what you're doing at New Belgium, and I'm really excited to dig in today's conversation where we're going to talk about marketing and tech moving forward in the marketing space, and also just like the tactical things like inside the organization, like breaking down those silos. So yeah, really looking forward to digging in.
Yeah, me too. Great to connect again.
Yeah. So Abby, like last time we spoke, you actually mentioned like you're in this kind of interesting phase of the year where you're kind of balancing out the now versus the next. Like you have to, really focus in on what's happening right now, but you also have to start the planning for 2020s. How are you personally balancing that out? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a unique time of year for sure. You really feel like you're being pulled in two directions. And, I think there are a few things that we're actually sort of lucky in the beer industry that this time of year, our high season is really Memorial Day to Labor Day. So the one nice thing is there's, of course, a lot going on still. I will not pretend that it's quiet by any means, but it is a nice time of year for us to really dig into experimentation. And so I think it's easy this time of year to get on autopilot and just kind of almost like wash your hands of 2025. How are we looking at 2026 and even 2027 already? I don't know. I thought we'd all be robots by now. But it's just easy to say, okay, well, this is what I had planned for the rest of the year, especially in an industry where, on the beer side of things, holidays, of course, a drinking time, but not our biggest season. So traditional D2C e-commerce, a little bit different, but we're in this unique place that I can look at where we've come this year, look at performance, and still make adjustments. And I feel really fortunate that we can do that. I think there's always space to do a little bit of that, though. Even if you're in a high season, taking a look at, okay, just because this is where I had allocated spend, this is what the campaign was I was planning, how have similar things actually been going? How is that product or brand been performing? Is that the best use of it? Like really focusing on finishing out the year, because that's helping me inform next year's plans too. Like if I can test new tools out now at small spends with maybe not quite as, high stakes brands or products, I can learn a lot to make sure I get that in my 2026 planning and budget. And so that's where I'm focused right now, is in planning next year, really paying attention to performance of what we've done so far, which I think everyone is looking at when you're planning the following year. But taking that a step forward and saying, okay, I was going to use this partner and this placement for this brand for a small spend to finish out the year. But actually, I've been talking to this new partner and I'd really like to see what they could do. This is the perfect opportunity to do it. And then I still have time to say, hey, okay, that did pretty well. I'm going to allocate, maybe triple that into my budget for next year, because I see a lot of opportunity for maybe our more high priority brands. And so I think they can work in tandem. It can feel sometimes like you're getting split apart and, your brain is constantly bouncing back and forth. I try to embrace this time of year as like, okay, what did I not get to do that maybe I hadn't planned on and came up later in the year that I didn't think I was going to get to do? So making a lot of adjustments there, just so that I'm not missing out on any of that kind of new opportunity and planning next year. So it's a lot easier to bake it in now if we can.
Absolutely. Oh, I mean, that's brilliant. I love just the one word you said was experimenting that I really hooked on to, because I think a lot of times we do kind of put all right, we're going to focus in on this year and we're going to finish out the plans, but at the same time we're going to build 2026 and looking at them at two completely separate things. Yeah. But like you're saying, experiment with 2025 to build 2026, and I love that approach. Like just doing those little small spends, those little experiments, to say, okay, what can we just kind of learn right now and then tweak the planning for next year from this year's learning. So this way you're kind of getting like double bang for your buck.
Exactly. And especially when you're working with a new partner, they're a lot of times willing to work with you on budgets and to do a small test. And that's what we're taking advantage of as we round out the year is, where can I put $5,000 and see what it does and find out more and, really put their platform to the test and see if what they're telling me we could get out of this or their data and analytics are really what they're saying they are. It's a great way to find that out. And then again, make that bigger decision of, okay, yeah, I'm going to actually go big on this next year and apply it to, a bigger brand, a higher stakes brand, one that can make a larger splash.
How do you balance out experimenting versus execution? Because I could imagine where all of a sudden you have a bunch of different tests running. When is too much testing?
I think it's tempting to jump on everything, right? And so I think for us, a lot of times it's going back to the customer and is this going to serve them? And is this a new and interesting and cool placement or piece of technology or way to get in front of them? Is it going to reach the right person though? Is it the right fit? Is it the right time of year? So a lot of that I try to kind of filter out through that. It's easy again to get excited about innovation and technology and where things are going, but at the same time, alcohol is not as fast moving in a lot of those things sometimes. And so I think there is a little bit of the benefit there that we don't quite have. It's not like a fire hose coming at us, I would say. So it makes it a little bit easier for sure. But I mean, first, there are still things that we pass on, of course. Like you can't be doing all of it. And I think also determining again the brand fit for the type of placement and where it's going to be and who's going to be seeing it, making sure that matches up with the customer and not having too many on kind of the same either brand or platform at the same time, so you also can understand what's actually moving the needle. So it is sometimes holding off on stuff like maybe we initially wanted to test a new feature on DoorDash, but we're also actually doing this experiment in sponsored product, so let's hold off because we're going to have too many things happening. And we really want to make sure know where these results are coming and can kind of point to what's driving that.
So important. I'm actually advising with a company right now, and they had like changed like 4 different things that they were doing with their marketing at the same time. I'm like, okay, well now we can't figure out which one's driving it.
You're gonna have to keep doing it all then if it works. Good luck.
Yeah, let's keep more. Yeah, so it's like it is definitely. I love that rule of just one thing at a time, and just and doing it slowly and methodically, and plan out your experiments, and your filter of like starting with the consumer is brilliant too. It's just it is focusing in on what's the impact this is going to have on my consumer. Is it going to be a brand fit, and does it fit the consumer? Are two great like. Check these 2 boxes first before we even think about an experiment. If it makes through there, it goes into the next funnel, part of the funnel. But then, it's then, okay, which ones do we want to prioritize and focusing on one at a time?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned like, in the beer industry and in the alcoholic beverage industry, and even like in the industry where I came from, which was deli meat, it's been around for centuries, but they don't move fast. Like it's like, they're very slow moving. And part of that is trying to just teach these older brands, these older industries, what we actually can do. Like we can change it up because it's like, everyone's like, well, it's always been this way. So it makes it hard to change.
Yeah.
And part of that, like, I think in your role at Belgium Brewing must be like, breaking down those silos and getting to each one of those departments to start to teach them different ways that we can approach it. So how has that experience been about like breaking down the barriers and those silos?
Yeah, I mean, it's so key to stay close in contact with internal teams, particularly for us, our sales teams. I'm lucky in that when my role was created, it was initially on the retail programming team here in our organization, which works extremely closely with our sales team already. They're very integrated. And so I was able to, when I came into the role, build that relationship and those understandings and those learnings. I was on the fully digital marketing side before that. So I really didn't have that experience and understanding. So the hard part about that is you want to try to recreate it without actually moving your folks through different departments. And so I've been able to keep that up, but that was the catalyst for it. I think you can still get there, but that was an amazing catalyst to really kick it off and to stay close with them. And so understanding what they do so closely and being in, team meetings with them and really knowing what they're working on, who's doing what, who's in charge of what, and then the extension of that, how they work with the sales team and our internal teams and our national account managers. And so continuing on a lot of those meetings and presentations, we do monthly and bi-monthly webinars and meetings with our larger sales team that I'm always making sure I'm still getting in on. I'm like, I'm on the paid media team now, but I'm going to keep showing up to these and telling you what we're doing. And so keeping that internal education going, because one of the big things that we find in going into that traditional industry is the buyers that we work with really run the gamut in terms of understanding and buy-in of digital and technology and new and now. And there's also a lot of turnover. So who the buyer is right now for Walmart might not be the same person we're working with in a few months. And if I'm not aware that there's been a change and able to meet with them or at least get an understanding of where they sit in that spectrum, how much pushing are we going to need to do or education, and how much are we going to be able to get from them? There are great buyers we'll meet with who bring new and exciting ideas to us. And so unless you're close and keeping up that communication and making sure that even just on a personal level how things are going with that national account manager, with that salesperson, you can really get siloed and get your head down and just focus in e-com, especially just what you're doing with self-serve, what you're putting out each day, and sort of dismiss the rest of it as like, well, we can't really do that much, so doesn't really matter who our target buyer is right now, because I can't really do anything on target anyway. I think it's easy to fall into that trap. And so then if you have your internal sales teams really understanding what are we doing to support our grocery teams or our C-store teams, like what are we working on here? Once they have that understanding and can make sure that their buyers know about that too, it can be a really impactful part of that relationship and that communication and become more of a two-way street where it's not just us coming to them and telling them what we're doing, but getting opportunities back too.
Yeah, one thing I find really important in any like leadership role within the company, it is that relationship building. Like, I think it's a simple thing, but something that we do forget. It always starts with relationship, Yeah, you were blessed with being able to be on the other side and have those
Yes,
relationships already, and just be able to leverage that to have like these authentic and transparent conversations.
totally.
So that's awesome for you. For everyone else that's out there that doesn't have that
I know.
luxury, it's so important to start to build those relationships and not just think about like, how can this person help me or what do I need to tell them, but like you mentioned, like that two-way piece of it. I think that's like, is key,
Absolutely.
is having those two-way conversations.
Yeah.
And another
Yeah.
thing that I connected to Abby was like this, just like I almost like over communicating, right? Like where it's just like it's being in every one of those meetings and making sure everyone knows what you're doing. So when they have the opportunity to like, leverage growth marketing, digital marketing, they're able to say, oh yeah, you know what, this is what Abby and the team are doing over there, and this is how it can
Yeah.
help this buyer.
Exactly. Or even, hey, maybe that relates to her team, maybe it doesn't. I'm at least going to ask the question. Like, that's
Yeah.
fantastic if they're not sure. Yeah. And I think too, like getting really specific, we can get into a lot of media and digital jargon and commerce media and last mile delivery. And it's like, this is like white noise a lot of times when you're
Yeah.
not in it every day. So like when I can break it down and say like, hey, here's something really exciting we're doing on Instacart. And as a reminder, here are the top accounts we know this is affecting as where our sales are on Instacart, and calling out those so that it stays top of mind. Like, oh yeah, this relates to Walmart. This relates to Kroger.
Mm-hmm.
Just that little piece of like calling out and mentioning, like someone's going to hear that on a call. And if they're like maybe multitasking, like they're going to tune right back in. And so
Is
not
oh wait, what was
assuming.
that?
Yeah, exactly. She said something about mine. So sometimes just that like quick reminder of like, I know it's, it sounds like DoorDash is not your thing, but hey, 7-Eleven is a huge account for us on DoorDash. So our C-store team, and they're great about that communication and understanding. And I make sure to fill them in on results of, any tests that we've been doing that we know are impacting that part of the business. So that the way you're communicating too, it's different than how you're going to speak to your own team or other folks, in digital. It's how do you take that information and kind of put it through the filter of like, why does this matter to them? Like when you're speaking, on a call with 100 plus salespeople from all over the country, like make it matter to them and make sure they really get that piece.
Yeah, make sure it matters to them. That's absolutely important. When we're at digital food and beverage, I think that was like one of the most common trends was that these silos were there, and like how do you actually break through? Because like there was a lot of digital marketers in the room, of course, and they're all trying to figure out how to break it through. And that was the one piece of advice that I heard a lot too was make it matter, right? You just make it matter to the person that you're speaking to. Know your audience. So great advice there.
Definitely.
Then on like consumer insights in alcohol, that could be a challenge sometimes. Like it's really unique when it comes to data access, like and consumer insights. How do you and your team piece together the consumer story across platforms like Instacart, DoorDash, and retail media networks? Like, and where are you seeing like the biggest blind spots?
Yeah, I came from traditional D2C e-commerce before this. I didn't know how good we had it. Selling a product directly to a consumer and having all of that data is such a goldmine. At the same time, it's almost like, what do you do with all that? That's overwhelming in itself. This is such a different challenge. And that's honestly what I like about it is that you don't have the whole story. And so you have to do a lot more digging. You have to be a lot more creative and kind of relentless in figuring out the solutions and finding out who's helping solve this disconnect when we're not actually selling directly to our consumer and missing out on all that super valuable data. I wish I could go back to myself when I was working in like the outdoor industry and online sales and be like, you don't know how great this is.
You don't know how lucky.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
It will never be this good. But no, that was such a learning curve for me and so interesting to come into an industry that is so different and you are truly really removed from your customer, but you still need to speak to them and you still need to understand them. So, I mean, outside of what our amazing analyst teams are doing and work with Nielsen and all the incredible information that they get and are able to bring to us, when it comes to the e-com side, we're definitely lacking. And I think unless you have the budgets of Anheuser-Busch and the big guys where you're able to pay for that data from all of your chains and your retailers, a lot of it, last mile is a huge piece that we depend on. And so even though we're not getting a lot of our end customer information, we have really great insights into who the shopper is on those different types of platforms. And then we can make sure that the brands that we're pushing, even the package sizes and types that we're focusing on, it's such a different customer. It's such a different profile. And so we rely really heavily on those partners to help us inform that strategy and stay up to speed on who their customer is and how they're changing and any trends that they're seeing. So we know that's obviously going to be a huge impact on the e-com side. And outside of that, we take what data we can and centralize it and standardize it as much as we can to compare across the places we do get information from. Even as simple as new to brand, it's such a low-hanging fruit metric, but it's one that we've really started to prioritize because it tells you a lot of information in that one thing. I mean, more so in some cases than even ROAS. So focusing on like, who are we attracting and who are we make sure we're bringing back, and that balance. And that is something that we can compare across all of our ad platforms, which is great. I wish there were more, and we're working through it. And there's definitely more opportunities coming up. We had a great partnership we did with GoPuff this year, where we did a type of sampling campaign where basically you could add one of our new products, Light Strike, a single bottle of that at checkout for, I think it was 25 cents. And so it was basically a sampling campaign. By partnering with them, we were able to get a ton of information data back, including survey, post events. Again, it's like if we weren't close with our GoPuff sales national account manager, Dan, who's amazing, working with him, he recognized, hey, this fits e-com too. Like, it's something I'm working on the sales side, but there's a big e-com piece to this. Brought me in immediately right at the start of the campaign. We were able to get really deep into insights and analytics. So when those opportunities come up, making the most of them, taking insights we learned from that customer, now we can inform more of our overall GoPuff strategy and compare it to some of our other e-com marketplaces.
Well, that's awesome. I love that sampling campaign.
It's brilliant. Really cool. It's really cool. Yeah. It's a great way because beer and alcohol and spirit sampling is so tricky outside of your very traditional in-store, in your liquor store, they have the wine tasting. I always head there first for sure. But when you want to do it bigger and you want to reach people and you want to do it with a digital influence, really complicated for a lot of reasons and even state by state. And so GoPuff has been a really awesome partner in that.
I'm curious, could you share any of the results from that test?
Oh my gosh, we had our repeat buy rate from that was crazy. It was way above benchmark. We continue to see, we were able to start running sponsored product ads at the same time or shortly kind of towards the end of that sampling period. So we were able to then get in front of people again who had done the initial sampling. We both had a huge repeat rate of people resampling and trying the other flavors and purchasing the other flavor, but also just repeat buys of the 4-pack, which was the only way we were actually selling it outside of the sampling campaign. So seeing that again, like that, the new to brand versus repeat, that is also what told us a lot, even more so than, some of the survey results, was seeing how many people were coming back and getting reminded by that sponsored product ad. So making sure that we had both of those kind of in conjunction and hitting that customer at the right time was a great strategy.
Yeah. And I'm curious, what was the action that you took after you got those results? Are you planning to do more of that in 2026 with other brands? Are you going to expand? Yeah.
That's the hope. It also helped inform some of our packaging strategy. We're going to be now releasing that product in singles. So that was a huge, we heard that from other places as well, but it added to that sort of voice of this new product. There's a lot of interest here and excitement. A 4-pack at the price point that it has to be at might not be the best entry, but when people can try it, they're loving it and they're coming back and buying it. So how can we make that barrier to entry, just pull it back a little bit? So we're offering singles. We've just launched a new flavor of it that's available in singles. And then our existing flavors are going to be transitioning to singles availability as well.
Oh, wow. That's such a really cool approach. And yeah, it's sometimes when you only have the option of a 4-pack, 6-pack, it's like, I haven't tried this product before.
Exactly. What do I do with the rest of them if I don't like it? They're going to be back in the fridge for a year.
Yeah. I got 5 in the cooler sitting there.
Exactly. So that really helped. Yeah, it helped to understand with that product just came out this year. It's brand new. It's new to market. It's also, there's nothing like it out there. It's a hard refresher. Absolutely delicious. It's like the best post yard work drink I have found. It's got coconut water and sea salt. So it's like hydrating and delicious and it's amazing. And so
all right, I'm sold.
There was also that of just kind of an understanding of it. And again, so much more likely to what's the harm in a single of these? And especially if it's a quarter when I'm already buying something on GoPuff, like why not? I'll try it.
Well, I mean, now I might spend a little extra time in the garden so I can get some of those.
I know, right? It's like, better get back out there.
I know, I gotta earn it.
Yeah.
Now, as we move into 2020, another big topic that we heard at Digital Food and Beverage, and I guess everywhere that I look, is about AI.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, like, how can AI influence the business? And I'm curious, like, what are you guys doing today at New Belgium with AI, and what do you think about this whole AI thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really exciting. I think it's incredible. I love hearing from other brands how they're using it. I think that is one of the most impactful, and for me at Digital Food and Beverage, one of the most helpful things and interesting things for me was hearing firsthand, like, what are you doing with it? There's a session that literally was everyone run around the table and just talked about their company's approach and how they're currently using it, and the way it runs the gamut. Oh my goodness, really incredible. Right. We are taking a look at a lot of tools that utilize AI, and I think we're taking a very measured approach, which I think is good. I think there's, like I said, a lot of excitement around it. And it can be easy to get wrapped up in that and start trying everything out. What we're really focusing on is what problem is it solving, and making sure that there's no down funnel streams that are going to be impacted that might actually be negatively impacted. Like you might be solving for this problem. Are you now just creating bottleneck because this is going to be generated? Maybe these images are going to be generated quickly, but the approval process then that's not going to change. That's then going to be even worse because it's going to be bottlenecked. Or, like we can see what types of ads we need to be creating. Well, we still have only so many creative folks and resources to make them. So we're really trying to look at them as such a bigger picture of, rather than just like, oh, here's a pain point and AI can solve that. And I think that can be a good way to look at it. But if you don't also look at that bigger picture and make sure that you have that full flow figured out and what you're going to do with it, I worry about, and I see where people can jump onto them and sign on with them and then say, yeah, it's nice and it's interesting, but it's not really solving that larger problem, particularly in marketing. And so I'd say we're doing slower steps more internally of what we can do, bumping up our schemas, our owned website processes, and partnering with our IT teams really closely for that. And mostly just trying to stay in the know about what's out there as we start dipping our toe into it. So it's a lot of research and understanding right now. But again, understanding like the bigger picture and making sure that when we go bigger with it and really start to partner with some of these folks, we have a full funnel solution for it.
Yeah. So when I talk about innovation, I always mention I have these three key variables for all innovation that needs to be successful. And the first one, it has to be like a real problem that you're solving. Then there has to be a change that's going to improve that problem. And then third is that you have to get others to accept that change is going to solve that problem.
Yes.
And a lot of times acceptance is where we fall down in innovation. Like that's like the big challenge. And I think what you're alluding to here is like, if we have a problem with our creating digital content, AI could change that. But if it's making their job harder, it's going to drop acceptance. Right. Yes. And I think that's like a big fall down. So yeah, it's just like if it's gonna solve a problem, but you're not thinking about the full picture, and is this going to put up more obstacles within the organization, more bottlenecks?
Yes.
Yeah, then it's definitely not going to work. So I think the measured approach is definitely a very wise one. Just kind of take your time and see where would it best be implemented, and also will we get the results we wanted without adding any extra pain is so important.
Absolutely. And the ones that are information driven, I think that's going to be really cool to have this additional information. What am I going to do with that? What's the action from that? And do I have the resources to act on it? That's been a huge one for us too. And so it can be hard. That's the downside, right? Of hearing what other people are doing with it. And you're like, oh my gosh, we need to do that. We need an AI officer just doing everything AI. Like, why don't we have one of those? Like, it can be so easy to get caught up in that. But at the same time, I appreciate the measured approach, the cautious approach, the making sure that we're protecting ourselves and our creative assets and where we're sharing those and how those are going to be used, and just making sure that it's the right fit for us, and that organizationally there can be excitement and buy-in and understanding, so that you don't, again, get into something that creates more work, ends up, fueling distrust, which would be the worst, or just something that you're flat out like not even really using or taking advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually worked with a client recently, and they put in this amazing AI tool that scrapes consumer insights off of the web, and they implemented it company wide. And amazing tool, really powerful. But we learned that like usage in the company was so low; it was like at 5%. And it was like, well, why is it so low if it's such an amazing tool? And the problem was that it created more work. Once I got this insight, now what am I going to do with it? Now I have to do something with this. I got to create a new campaign or change my assets. So it's just, it created more work to where it was like, you know what? I'm just going to turn a blind eye to it so I don't have to deal with it.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No, again, and that's part of that full funnel. Like, what are you going to do with this information? What are you going to do with these creative assets? Like, how is that going to fit in your current work stream and in current workload of the size of the organization you have and the personnel that you have? That's such an important piece. I know there's always that fear of it's going to replace us, all that. Whenever I get worried about it, I just watch my Roomba trying to park, and I'm like, oh, the robots are going to take over.
Yeah. Feel much better about after watching that.
Station. That brings me peace.
It's like, oh, shoot. If they can't figure that out yet, I think we're good. Our job is safe for a little bit longer.
Exactly.
That's great. One other thing I want to talk about, I saw recently a campaign that you guys started, and I just love the way that you are, partnering and having these like collaborations. And the last one I saw was from Borderlands, which is so cool. But like thinking about like that, like from frozen pizza tie-ins, like how do you approach these partnerships? Because that's another thing that could be very overwhelming. Like, what role do they play like in creating congruent omnichannel campaigns and that really resonate with the shopper?
Yeah, I love our partnerships that the brands come to us with. Like, it's so exciting. Even when I don't know what it is, learning about it, like I'm not the Borderlands target, but once I understood what it was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. And that's what we want the consumer to think too, right? Like unexpected, but such a right fit. Like that is the perfect partnership. Because when you do what's expected, it's fine, but it's not nearly as exciting. You're not going to get nearly as much of that excitement, especially digitally and social media, people talking about it. And so part of it obviously is brand fit. Not every partner is going to be right for every brand for us. We're a house of brands. So when it comes to Fat Tire, it's more about authenticity. There's a really close tie to the outdoor. That would not work for Voodoo Ranger. Voodoo Ranger, it's all about the irreverent and the unexpected. And so, yes, something like Borderlands, the gaming community has been a huge partner and advocate and really great friend for Voodoo Ranger. Not something, again, that we just sort of came up with out of the blue. There's been a ton of work in getting really ingrained in that community. So while you might not be as concerned about authenticity being the forefront of it, there's more and it runs deeper so that it doesn't feel kind of random and like, oh, now they're trying to get the gaming community interested. It's like, no. We've been at Comic-Con for years now, showing up with a giant voodoo pirate ship. Like it is all part of this much larger thing. Yeah. When it comes to omnichannel and how we can really figure that out digitally, I love when we're able to do larger campaigns that include, merch, product updates and packaging that we can syndicate. So for example, last summer we did a partnership with Fat Tire and Vans. And that was such a fun one to do because they both were these brands that have like a heritage and almost like a 90s skater, cool vibe to them. So it just made sense. There's, Vans plays a little bit in the outdoor, but more in like skate, obviously. And so it felt a little bit, again, unexpected, but like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Those are two like very close brands when you think about it. So we were able to take their classic, well-known checkerboard pattern, put that on cans and on outside packaging, and then sell on our online store on New Belgium a really limited series of like the slip-on shoes that were Fat Tire and Vans, and then some other merch as well. And so getting that like full funnel excitement, because obviously with our merch store, it's not our main bread and butter. It's not our main revenue driver, but it's great for getting that brand awareness and that brand excitement. Like if you have someone who's going to wear the name of your brewery on it, like around, that's incredible. Yeah. Like that's a super fan. So when we can partner with someone like Vans to bring that excitement level even higher and have limited edition items like that, involved, then they're going to go look for the cans. Then they're going to, talk about it. Again, you're going to tell the whole story when someone asks you about it. So I love when we can do something larger like that outside of just maybe packaging. It's not always a possibility, but when we're going about those partnerships, seeing where it makes sense and what we can do kind of for a full funnel approach really depends on the type of partnership we're doing and the brand we're working with. But I love seeing what's next and what's coming out for some of those. It's really exciting.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I definitely see the tie between Vans and Fat Tire, and that makes total sense. And just
it was a really fun one.
Yeah, it's like looking for those brand fits. And I think another great takeaway here too is thinking about Voodoo Ranger and Borderlands, where it's like you didn't start with putting Borderlands all over the package and everything. It started off slowly at Comic-Con and becoming a natural fit, like a natural connection. So I think both very perfect approaches of finding that brand fit, but also like starting small and kind of working your way into the DNA or the fabric of the community, which is brilliant.
Yeah, you'll get called out immediately if you just try to start slapping Borderlands on your packaging, right? Like people can sniff that out very easily. And so that's why we are really thoughtful about who we work with. And again, the communities that we're in and showing up with and doing partnerships with. And so like, this isn't the first video game one we've done. It's the largest one for sure, but it's not the first one we've done. And so even that, like starting small and partnering with really niche, interesting, small games that, aren't widely known, and doing small runs of that were a great way to test it out too.
Yeah. And authenticity absolutely is so important, because consumers will figure that out and immediately. It was like, I think it was the French Open where they had like an Instagram AI influencer, and it was like just someone that was an AI that was posting pictures of them in quotes at the event. It just kind of got a lot of backlash because it was just inauthentic. It's like, what is this garbage?
I'm sure. It's just, it's been fascinating to follow brands that have been getting called out for using AI generated images in their advertising, both like, getting faulted when it comes to things like can and competitions, but then also just authenticity and brands that sort of center themselves in authenticity and heritage and all of that, and then using AI to create images. And where does that fall? So we're, like I said, we're kind of watching it all play out right now. And I think it's helpful because we're learning and we're seeing those pitfalls and the places that we don't want to go, because, we've been around it'll be our 35th year next year at New Belgium. And so we do have that heritage, that story, that richer, deeper history. And we want to make sure that like, that's something that we're associated with.
Yeah, so important to protect, but yes, also so important to keep your ears to the ground to see what's new and what's happening. So great idea of just making sure that you're connecting with everyone else to learn what they're doing and learn from their mistakes.
Exactly. Yes.
Abby, thank you so much for being on the show today. I think you've dropped so many knowledge bombs on everybody here. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience today?
Oh gosh, I don't think so. I think I don't think any organization has it figured out in terms of silos and communication. One of my favorite things to ask other brands is, where does your e-com sit? Where do they sit in your organization? Because you'll always get a different answer. And I think all we can continue to do is really fuel that internal communication and buy-in, particularly in my industry, and get everybody really excited about it.
Again, Abby, thank you so much for being on the show today. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Matt. It was great to chat with you. I appreciate it.
We have made it to the end of another episode. Thank you for tuning in. A couple of things before you go. If you have found value in this episode, I am sure you'll find value in what we have coming up. So please subscribe so you will have access and know when we launch the next episode. Also, leave a review. The more reviews we have, the further our reach becomes, and I truly want this to be heard by as many leaders as possible. Don't hog this all for yourself. I would love to hear your insights on this topic, so meet me on social media at Matt Muller Innovation on LinkedIn and Instagram. And lastly, if you want to learn more about my story and what I can do for you and your company, go to themindfulinnovator.com. I would love to help you innovate on purpose. Until next time, just remember, bring a level of awareness to each conversation, each observation, each moment, and you can create great change in this world. Thank you.